Hi, everyone. Welcome to the bridge. I'm your host, Kira Young, and you've reached me on People's Internet Radio. This is our first ever video show. Vin's been doing it for a while, so we thought we'd give it a try. And we have two great guests tonight. We have our first guest is Angela Forman of the Gourmet Soap Kitchen. Welcome to the bridge, Angela.
Hey, going? You going to say hello to Santos too?
Yes, and after I talk to Angela, we're going to talk to Santos Bonacci. Welcome to the bridge, Santos.
Thank you. Thanks, Kira.
So what I wanted to talk to you about, I want to talk to you about your story, but before we get started, we did want to give a shout out to Vinny Eastwood, whose YouTube channel is down right now, which is just completely ridiculous. And anybody who, I don't know what can be done about it, but why don't you say something about it? I'm so flustered by this situation.
Actually, Kira, can I come in there just for a sec on that note?
Sure.
I've been trying to see if I could assist in the background with that situation, and we may have a solution already in hand for that. So just to let everybody know. Yeah.
That's
right?
Wonderful.
See, I like to do
you.
peacekeeping duties in the background, so that's what I did. I tried to get a little piece organized here and there, so that's just a bit of good news. All right.
Thank you, Vin. Thank you. Okay, so what you do is your basic philosophy is you really shouldn't be putting anything on your skin that you wouldn't actually be able to eat as well. And that's that's what I've been living with for a while, and my skin's been a lot happier. I used to have a lot of autoimmune stuff on my skin, and it's gone since I started living with that philosophy.
Well, it's like transdermal medicine. It'll soak straight through the symptoms. Just like a medicine patch on your shoulder. They put morphine on people's arms and all that sort of stuff. So if you're putting glycol, antifreeze, formaldehyde in your products, which is loaded with it, it's actually one of the main ingredients in moisturizers is glycol, which is antifreeze. And you know, if you drink it, you die on the skin. So pretty disgraceful.
It really is. So how did you become this gourmet soap maker and salve maker, and where did your journey begin?
It began, my son, who's now 25, had asthma, eczema, all these things after he had a vaccine, would you believe? I didn't realise at the time, but he was 8 weeks old and ended up in hospital. And he ended up with anaphylaxis to nuts, and just to tree nuts, not to peanuts. They're not related, by the way, just people who think they're allergic to all nuts. But he was about 2, in and out of hospital constantly. And I went to a paediatrician who was very brave, and they ridiculed him back in the 1990s, early 1990s. And he said, I was his last patient, happened to be, and he said, I can give you pills or I can teach you to save his life. And he said, and I said, yeah, teach me. And he said, are you sure you want to know? Are you sure? And he was like, and I think I was in there for about 3 hours, and he just told me everything. He'd been to the factories, and he said, you've got to go back to your great-grandparents and what they ate, and if they didn't recognise it, they didn't eat it, don't eat it. And my son went from being really sick, his asthma went away, and yeah, he's now 6'7", so big beast of a guy. So, you know, that's what started me on it, yeah. It just grew from there because I couldn't get anything natural, you know, I had to make my own eventually, you know, it's nothing. Back in the early 90s. But I noticed that he would blister up whenever I put silverline cream on him and things. And then I read the ingredients and thought, oh, this is bad stuff. Mm-hmm. So he had a chemical sensitivity, you know, and he got better, you know.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You're so lucky to find a doctor like that.
Yeah. Well, we've recently reconnected over the last few years, and he cried when he heard, because he said he doesn't feel like he's doing enough. And I said, well, look what you're doing. You've got me doing all this stuff. You know, his hands are tied to a certain degree, but he does do his bit. And there's a lot of doctors working under the radar who are brave and who are doing the right thing and aren't following the prescription, just give them a pill, who inspire me. And I'm part of a network of those doctors, and they're amazing. So he's helped me through the whole thing, including recent events, you know.
Do you think this is a phenomena in Australia? Because I really haven't been able to find doctors like that in America.
Well, yeah, there's a few big doctors. I'm pretty sure there'd be doctors in America as well. They just probably wouldn't come out with it unless, I think this doctor just sensed my wanting to really do something to help my son. And it just, it's like you follow your instincts. And he just picked me out, and he just decided to teach me everything. And I was just like a sponge soaking it in, just because I wanted to save my child's life. I didn't want to just give him a pill. And goodness knows where it'd be, cortisones, internal cortisones, who knows. Yeah, they are around. You just got to ask them. You've got to keep going to find a doctor who actually, but they obviously can't come out with it with the average patient because they'll disbar them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I spent 20 years begging doctors to tell me what I needed to do. And they all told me I was doing the right thing.
You just got to find one, and he will network you with all these other doctors. And then basically you're not alone. So,
since I figured out that it was like gluten for the most part that was poisoning me, I just haven't gone back to doctors, because all they did was put me on drugs and tell me I had arthritis and fibromyalgia and all this stuff. So I just haven't been able to trust them to go back to them again. I just manage it myself. And I've had it since I was a kid.
Most of the time you don't need to, unless it's like when I've got a metal plate in my arm. I don't know if you can see that. Which way does the camera go? A metal plate. Yeah. You better go and get those type of things done. I just avoid them, My daughter broke a toxic bone last weekend and could have taken her to the hospital, but no, got the comfrey out of the garden, put that on her, wrapped it around. And there's so many things you can do. You can be your own doctor. That's a fact. I just cut my finger. I think you probably saw it on Facebook. Nearly severed it in half. And I just went out and got spider webs and wrapped it around. And it's the highest form of vitamin K on the planet. People get rid of their spider webs, better hang on to them. I was looking for them last night. Santos was watching me looking because I hit it and it started bleeding again. No pain, stop the bleeding within seconds, and becomes a plaster. You could probably, I don't know, but I reckon you'd be able to stop carotid arteries and, all sorts of things, because it's the highest form of blood clotting agent. And it also stops the pain. So, it's all here. Nature's put it all here. Creator's put it all here for us. It's all here.
And it's the vitamin K that stops the pain?
Well, the vitamin K is the blood clotting agent, but it's also got obviously other things that stop an analgesic. And I think spider webs also have antibacterial properties. So, it's a win-win. Cut yourself. And actually farmers taught me that. It's amazing what you learn from old-fashioned farmers.
Which I love, yeah. So you also discovered the kind of chemicals that were being used in schools to clean schools. That was another level of your journey of protecting children and families.
Yeah. My fourth child was completely healthy. And when she started going to kindergarten, she was fine in daycare. And found out later they use a natural product. But she started getting sick, started with earaches and sinus, which is the first sign of chemical sensitivity. It goes to your sinuses and your earaches and lots of stuff. And I just thought it was, viruses at school, all that sort of stuff. And it went on over, and she ended up to the point by year one where she was covered in eczema. That's what I do for a living, is fixing that. To the point where they were putting down towels at school, and she was burning up. She came home with rashes all over her, and she was on fire. They also diagnosed her with arthritis, because she had trouble with the joints. They were swelling as well. And but it took me 2 years to work it out. I'm going through the list. What is causing this? Cats, dogs, foods, what on earth is it? Because we already had an organic lifestyle and no chemicals in the house pretty much. And someone said to me, have you been to the school? You're using the clean bottles with you. I thought, surely that's safe. So I went down to the office and I asked them for the MSDSs, which is your materials safety data sheets. And they gave them all to me. There was 12 chemicals they were using. And understanding what ingredients mean, I read them and I was horrified, because they were using butane ether glycol and all sorts of chemicals, forming formaldehyde gas. It says in their own MSDSs. And I thought, that's what it is. And went to them, to the education department, first of all the principal and the education department, and I thought they'd go, oh my God, we've got to get this out. And they didn't. Their reaction was the opposite. The boss, the head boss, just basically said to me, I hope you got deep pockets if you want to prove it. And I was just like, well, I don't have to prove it. It's there in your MSDSs. It says it will cause liver damage, cancer, chemical sensitivity, chemical burn. And And he was just like laughing at me. Meanwhile, my daughter was nearly dying. And the reaction was ridiculous. But the other women at the meetings, because there'd be other people there as witnesses, which they have to have, were saying, why don't we use vinegar? Why don't we use a natural product? It's actually cheaper. But no, I couldn't get any sense out of them, you know, and I had to go back to my shop and sit down. I nearly collapsed when I realised it wasn't by accident. There are people at the top, in my opinion, that are doing it on purpose because there's cheaper alternatives and they're insisting on using these things.
That's when it really becomes apparent that there's something going on with these people in the schools. I had a similar experience when my son was in kindergarten, and the principal of the school called my husband and said, basically gave him very little information, said there's something wrong, you know, with your son. And so he rushed to the school to find out what was going on. And then while he was sitting in the waiting room reading a magazine, they called the cops and told him there was an intruder with a history of violence. And
yeah,
so when the cops came and they were like, this is the guy with the big garden and his kid goes here, so why did you call us? How is he an intruder? But the guy was absolutely a psychopath, the principal, because when he was demanded to apologize, he just had this like shit-eaten grin on his face. He was really
love it.
Did. Yeah, and then the school board, they literally punished me for daring to suggest that racism could possibly be involved. You know, he's full-blood Indian, so people, they react differently. They're very intimidated by him. So, and he was just sitting there. He never threatened anybody. He never screamed at anybody, but the cops get called when he goes to find out. It was a setup. It was a complete setup. It was really weird. And then I asked to take him out of that school and put him into the other elementary school in our area. And they said no, they refused. So then I took him out. I said, well, he's not going here. So I had to homeschool him. And I work full time. So that was hard.
Yeah, I did that with my daughter as well. But I saw my first psychopath. Well, recognized my first psychopath at that meeting. He's no longer working for the education department. But I was looking. There was no reasoning with him. He was enjoying it. He was grinning at me. And there was another man who was in charge of asset management, and I could see his body language, crossing his legs, and like nervous. Feeling. You could tell he was feeling sick by what he was hearing. And, I wanted the chemicals removed from the school and something else replaced. And I did it. I found something, because she was collapsing at that point from even like the natural detergents, down to earth detergents and things. And then I found out they're full of Neodol and, you should read up on that. And that's in your earth-friendly products, which aren't so friendly. Yeah, and the principal, oh my gosh, once word got around, all the teachers were going to support me, and they must have said, you're not allowed to talk to this woman, because after that, none of them would talk to me. And they did remove the cleaning chemicals, but after a lot of harassment towards me. And I remember one day, because I'd be really nervous, I didn't like these meetings because I'm one of those people that doesn't like to confront things like that. Mm-hmm. And I finally got my guts one day when she was standing there lording it over me, saying, basically treating me like a fool. And I just stood up and I said to her, don't tell me about toxic chemicals. That's my work. I said, I don't tell you how to be a principal. Don't you dare tell me I don't know what these chemicals are doing to my child. And I just got my power back on that day. Mm. And she was, so they did remove, they removed them, and it was a trial. It was on the local news twice. And I wondered why the local news guy was saying, be careful, God bless you and all, because he's Christian. And this doctor who I originally saw my son about, he was just saying, be careful, Angela, be careful. And I'm like, why does everyone tell me to be careful? And then it went to, I think it was Today Tonight, or a Current Affair. I can't remember. It's two big TV shows in Australia, which everyone, all the mainstream listens to. And they recorded a show. And they were, saying, you're the next Erin Brockovich. Anyway, it got canned. Okay. And I don't really think that Erin Brockovich, well, I shouldn't really say it, I don't really know, but, it's okay to take down one small company, but you try to take down the education department and the chemical companies, which is also involved with Big Pharma, it's, you're up against a major thing. And they actually stole my files. Someone came in and stole my files and before the show, and then they replaced them. Police came in, tested fingerprints, and definitely someone had them, some big, large male, which there's no male living in my house. No one else could touch my files. Just all sorts of weird stuff. Just as well I'm known in town because they couldn't really touch me, because I think there would have been a big uproar, but goodness knows what they would have done if I wasn't so well known in my shop. So for people who are on their own, so I was a single parent, but if you're completely on your own, they can just take you. They can take your child. And that's what this doctor and this brave paediatrician said to me. He'd actually had different mothers that have done what I've done, and one of them was a woman who got rid of them in the 1990s, and they sent him a letter. They were going to commit her. She was a teacher, and she discovered that two of her children, it was the chemicals, and they sent him a letter saying they wanted to commit her, and he had to sign off on it. And he just said, this woman is completely sane, and they're not going to, so she's still okay. But yeah, she still runs a site which people can contact me if they want to know what it is, to do with chemical traumas, which doesn't exist according to the government. There's no such thing as chemical sensitivity. No, it doesn't exist. Poisons don't make you sick.
Right. Here in America, the FDA doesn't protect us from anything at all. They outlaw the things that work to cure cancer, and they approve the things that are killing us. And the companies don't have to prove that their products aren't killing us. We have to prove that they are.
I know.
So it's backwards. It's really, really backwards.
Opposite land. I think Vinnie Eastwood taught me that. Everything's opposite. Yeah. And the more you research, and they'll tell you one thing, and then you research it, it's just more and more and more. I find everything they tell you opposite.
Yeah, and with what we're eating, our food, the whole food pyramid is a complete lie. Like the base of what we should be eating is not grains. It's just not. We should be stuffing as many vegetables in our mouth as we can. That should be our base. And we should be eating fats, good fats that aren't made in a factory. And yeah. So is your food situation as bad as it is over here? I mean, everything is GMO and highly processed, and it's bad.
It's not as bad, I don't think, in Australia. There's not as much GMO, but it is coming in. But people are quite aware. A lot of the farmers don't want to use it. So I don't think it's quite as bad. But if it goes to the supermarket, they spray it with something called budnip. And I recommend everyone watch, there's on YouTube, Little Girl and Budnip. Search that. And so they spray it to keep it looking fresh. And it's dead stuff. So even if it's grown with chemicals in Australia, that's for sure, superphosphates and the whole thing. And then they spray it to keep it looking beautiful, so it hasn't got any spots on it, or it doesn't. The potatoes don't sprout, so it's budnip. Look it up; it's interesting.
Yeah, it's industrialized food that's killing us, and in America we have an obesity epidemic, but yet people are nutritionally starved. They're really fat. Nice. Yeah,
they look nice, but they're actually starving.
Yeah,
it's
that's why autoimmune disease is skyrocketed. Absolutely skyrocketed. Autism skyrocketed. Way beyond anything that they claim vaccines ever saved us from. These diseases are killing us. Way beyond.
What they're putting in the vaccines. There's doctors that were murdered in Florida and other different places.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well,
you don't have the mafia or whatever after the doctors in Australia, or do you?
Oh yeah. They try to destroy this doctor, this pediatrician, and quite a few of them. Yeah, they do. They just got to be really careful what they do and what they say. They just keep it under the radar and pick particular people to tell, as I said. But what happened with my daughter was she went back to school and she was fine, and then they turned on the unflued gas heating, because we have unflued gas heating. Do you have that in the US still? That's where they don't flue the gas. So that's formaldehyde. I don't think we have that. We do in most of Australia. It's disgraceful. So they turned that back on, and the principal, who'd been really cruel to me, she rang me up and said, I think you should pull her out of school because she just had another collapse. That was her full chemical collapse. Her cup was full. And so I got her out of this, and they ended up putting air conditioning in her room. I had to, fight for that. And she went back to school. She was fine till the end of the year. And then in the start of the year, something had happened after a school break. They'd cleaned, they'd done something, because she's like a canary in a coal mine now. As soon as she's around formaldehyde particularly is her sensitivity, and that's produced by a lot of different things. And so she was homeschooled then after that for about 3 years, 2 or 3 years. And then she's gone into high school this year, and she had to wait months. I had a big thing with the education department again, which I hated doing, but this time I came with power, my own power, instead of being frightened of these monsters who are just weak little creeps, in my opinion. And she's in this little school with about 12 students, and they've removed all the chemicals in this. It's in like a little house. And she's now gone from low grades to she's getting 100% in her exams. She's a bright kid. And a lot of people with chemical sensitivities are extremely smart, because their brain just goes, I'm not going to tolerate this. And it just goes into, it just won't accept it.
Right. So what about as far as your medical industry? Are your doctors doing routine circumcisions on all, a majority of the boys like they are in America?
Not anymore.
Okay.
It's very difficult to find a doctor in Australia who will give circumcision. They won't do it anymore. Yeah, so it's just not going to happen. You can, but you have to really try hard to get a doctor. That's one thing they're not doing here. But yeah, they would have put it on arthritic medications and goodness knows what. She also showed a high white cell count. And the doctors that I knew which doctors to see, and they did the tests on her and stuff, and they refused to issue the reports. And I actually wonder, I don't really know for certain, that they didn't actually give those reports in, because as soon as that would come up as leukemia.
We're getting her back. Sorry, we lost you for a minute there. Now I can't hear. Not going.
I disconnected.
There we go.
Yay! We got you back.
I was weird. Everything turned off. I had to use it for my friend who had Wi-Fi, free, internet. He just knew it had happened, because it's a big thing when you're talking about poisoning most of the population of the children in Australia. It's huge.
Yeah.
And if parents only knew while their child's getting headaches or not being able to concentrate, or getting sick or getting angry, depressed, these things, they all destroy the liver, which does most of the things in the body. Sensory counts, depression, anxiety, chronic illness, and their parents just think they're misbehaving. And I find with what I'm finding is the school year starts, and as it goes along, because I've got teachers that are friends, they get crazier and crazier. And it's not just because they're at school, it's, in my opinion, to do with these chemicals which are building up in their system.
Wow. What about the other side of the medical industry, which is giving drugs to children? Are they starting to do that there, as far as, oh, your kid's got ADD, so we're going to put them on speed and all that stuff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's huge. And like I know with my son, we eat a good diet, but we were travelling out to visit my dad at Holbrook, who's dying from statin drugs. It's another story. But he had a bottle of fizzy drink as a special treat. And he turned into an absolute cranky monster. He was just like giving us the evil eye and just angry, just from having one drink. So, I mean, it's diet related, It's got to be. Yeah. Everything you put in your child's mouth. Don't have those fizzy drinks. Don't have the chips in the cupboard. Chuck them out.
Right.
Then they can only eat vegetables and healthy food, It's mad.
Eventually they will start eating it, if that's all there is,
Exactly. Yeah.
So a lot of times parents, they worry, oh, my kid's going to starve because they're not eating these vegetables I'm putting in. But it's like, you just have to keep giving it to them, because eventually they will eat it. They will.
I have a customer ages ago who had this child. He won't drink anything but these horrible plastic, disgusting drinks. And she said, but that's all he'll drink. I said, if it's not in the cupboard, believe me, he'll start drinking water. He will. Hopefully not tap water, though.
Right.
Because we fluoridate ours. Fluoridate yours?
It depends where you are. I live in the country, so we have our own well, which is nice. But if you're on city, let's say the city decided to come out and put some infrastructure where we're living and put city water, they would blow our well up, and that would be legal for them to do.
I know, and this is the thing. People got water tanks, and in the 1990s, I'm pretty sure, in the late 80s, early 90s, they were ripping out water tanks. I lived in Coffs Harbour on the coast at the time. They were making water tanks illegal, and they were just ripping them out willy-nilly, because if you had access to water, you can't have a water tank. And I know that I was talking to you about it the other day. There's groups going around owned by Monsanto who claim to be these organic, I think it's sustainable living. And you look it up, and they're owned by Codex or Monsanto, Codex Alimentarius, or whatever you pronounce that. But we looked it up, that's who owns them, and they're getting people's names of who has a vegetable garden, who has a water tank. You have chickens. Let's get your name, address, email number, phone number. There we go. We have a big register. So I don't tell anyone anything, but my front yard's a vegetable garden. You have to fight me on that
Everyone's
one.
front yard should be a vegetable garden. I've been just started this year a food sovereignty project. We're not going to figure it out in a few months, because it's taken us 100 years to become what we are now, the food supply that we have available to us now. So, with $800 and a $3,000 loan, and no infrastructure in the middle of the woods, you're not going to figure out food sovereignty in a few months.
Yeah, I know.
It'll take a little time.
It's time to move out I want to move out to the mountains or somewhere, but there's nowhere really to get away. They still come after you no matter where you are if they don't want you to be doing something. And it's okay to feed your child Coca-Cola, give them junk food, but no, you've got to vaccinate them. In Australia, I don't know if you know about the new vaccination laws here in Australia.
What's going on?
Well, you cannot get childcare unless they're vaccinated. And we have the poisonous vaccines here. They could do it with homeopathic, which actually is more effective, but it's not peer reviewed. You know about peer reviewing.
Peer review. Like that's worth anything now. Right.
So we've got parents terrified and who are actually falling for it and vaccinating their children. For a few dollars, and some of them, single mother, but I don't know, I'd find some other way. I'm a bit of a weed forager. You get out there and get your veggies outside, go and get them for free, something. Don't give them a vaccine. And I vaccinated my children, so I didn't know. And I think that was a catalyst with Bridget when she had her vaccine before she went to school. And I think so that's her genetic weakness. So they're destroying their genetic, so the GC receptor in the cell, but it's another story. But I think that was the final catalyst for her, where she just couldn't handle the chemicals after having that last vaccine. But I was all for it.
Biggest regrets as a parent.
Yeah. How can your child, if it hasn't been vaccinated, possibly hurt your child? If you reckon your vaccines work, what are you worried about? So, but in Victoria, they're making it mandatory they have to be vaccinated to go to primary school. And in New South Wales, it hasn't actually gone through. Some parents might actually think it's gone through, but it hasn't, because I've got an insider in the education department, and they can only request it. You don't even have to have a medical exemption, but they're putting through the media, making out like you have to be. So you've really got to know your law and find out what the actual law is and the truth. And no one will ever be sticking anything in my child ever again. None of their pharmaceutical crap, none of it, There's always
when my son was a baby, he got the DPT, which has the pertussis. The P is for pertussis vaccine in it. And that's one of the worst vaccines in the world for as far as injury. And he was a really, really happy baby, he never cried. I anticipated every need, so he never actually ever cried. But after this vaccine, he cried for 2 hours straight. And I called the doctor, and he didn't want to be touched. And I called the doctor, and she's like, well, if he cries for 3 hours or more, then we won't give him the second one. I said, you ain't giving him any more of that. And what I found out is if I would have let them, he could have been neurologically damaged permanently from that.
Dr. Russell Blaylock calls it the encephalitic scream. And I remember my second child, quiet as anything. She had her 2-month vaccine, because you could wait till the 2 months, and now they're sticking it in the moment they're born. And she screamed for 24 hours, and I thought they'd put it in a bone, because I had no idea that this stuff, what was in it, the actual ingredients. And he just said, no, and she just cried. I think it was more than 24 hours. That was the encephalitic scream. Look it up. Dr. Blaylock talks all about it. So the brain becomes swollen,
Yeah.
No wonder this can't handle being touched because everything's hypersensitive,
Right.
But yeah, we're surrounded. So not only are they poisoning us in the schools, they're sticking the vaccines in them, the food. We've got to take charge of this. We've got to stop this from happening. I mean, otherwise what's going to happen to the next generation? It's madness to not think about that, because it's the next generation coming through who are going to be sick. And you've also got the Gardasil vaccine.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I have it's coming to my shop. One boy recently, he's about 16. He's having collapsing, he just collapses. But in talking to him, we started talking, and his sister's got the same thing. And a teacher had actually sent him in to see me, probably for that specific reason. Mm-hmm. And I just said, you haven't had a vaccine? He said, only the one for a cervical vaccine, like boys have a cervix. And he just went, oh. And that's when it started happening, which they can't explain, these unexplained collapses.
Wow. Yeah. They can't explain it. Yeah. And, what's weird is when you talk to people about it, they want to believe that everything is okay. And so I've even had people tell me, well, some kids are worth sacrificing for the herd immunity. And I'm like, okay, so you're immune compromised. That's who they always use as the example. Well, this person's immune compromised, so you all got to get vaccinated so you don't make them sick. And really, because someone who's immune compromised, they're going to get sick from anything. So, and somebody getting vaccine is not going to help that person at all. And it's certainly no reason to compromise the rest of humanity's immune system for the sake of them. So my healthy child is worth sacrificing for somebody who's immune compromised? How does that make sense?
I don't believe they work at all, the vaccines. I don't think the only people, I don't think they work one little bit. The body will heal itself. You don't have to stick diseases in it to make it work. I mean, it's crazy. But I had another customer's eczema and psoriasis is what I specialise in. And he only had a little bit of eczema, and then he suddenly was covered in all over his chest, and he was freaking out, scared. And I just said to him, I asked him several questions. I always know there's got to be some reason why it suddenly took hold.
Sure.
So I asked several questions, and I said, you haven't had a vaccine. This is the guy, and he's about 30-something, 33, I think he was. And he said, yeah, they gave me the flu vaccine. He went for a health checkup because he's part Aboriginal. And he said, they stuck it in my arm before I could say no. And he was just going, I said I was sick for 2 weeks, terribly ill. And that's when my psoriasis came up. So I just think that it's much more satanic than, it's got to be deliberate. It's the colouring of the human race. They want to get rid of 95% of us. Bill Gates has talked about it, and it's called a soft kill. It's time to go to Russia as far as I'm concerned. Get away from this madness.
Right? If the vaccines don't get you, then the poison food will.
Or the water.
Or the water, the fluoridated water. Or the chemtrails, exactly. But for God's sake, don't eat bacon, because that's going to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. But I think we've really got to get on top of this, and you've really got to be proactive. And just Santos was taking something this morning. Do you mind if I say that?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's this powder, and he's asked me what I thought of it. and it's got aspartame in it. He hates aspartame. It's hidden there in the ingredients with a slightly different name.
Yeah, let's give these liars some promotion, shall we? They've got here pure natural pea protein. I was recommended this by a friend because for protein, for bulking up, putting on a bit of weight, which I need.
Cool.
And Angela will read to you what's actually in it.
Well, it's got the aspartic acid for a start. You've also got stevia, or stavia, I don't know what you call it over there, which is a fine in a plant form. It's so processed. So you've got to read your labels, you know. We're surrounded. You go to a health food shop and you get given poison. I mean, it's like playing Space Invaders, you know. You've just got to keep up with it. You've got to keep... And also they change things. So, you know, I was getting...
Yes.
You've got to keep on top of it. You can get... what's that other xylitol, which used to be made from birch bark. Now it's made from genetically modified corn, heavily concentrated. I mean, that's going to be real good for you. But
better chew on that so your teeth don't rot, right? Your brain will rot, but your teeth will be fine.
Sugar's bad. I mean, processed white sugar, I wouldn't have that. We have coconut sugar, but we're surrounded. So, I mean, it frightens me I'm looking at people having brain lesions in their early 30s, you know. It's things that were never heard of. Children that are 2 that are gluten intolerant, having all these diseases. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. And when they have their children, what's going to happen? That's if these children live till they're 40, you know. Use them while they're young. They think they're invincible. Next thing you know, that's what I can see, the writing's on the wall there, unless we turn this around, get these chemicals out of our houses, get these nasty, you know, deodorants and creams and moisturisers off your body. Go back to nature. I always think of the story of Heidi when she left the city. You know, the story of Heidi. I've heard of some Americans don't really know it, so I just have to check that. You know, she went to grandfather's house and ate what grandfather gave her, and she got better. Had sunshine and light and healthier food, organic food, and she's better. So you've got to live like Heidi in some way or another, you know. But you can change it. Well, my daughter could barely walk, migraine headaches, just terribly ill, and she's gone from that. She's just fine away from the chemicals. She is still, if she's around those particular chemicals, like 20 minutes at school, and she was in bed for a week. So she's become like anaphylactic to those. I don't know if you'd use that term, but basically anaphylactic to those particular cleaning chemicals. But we are working on it with the doctor who worked with those doctors, with Dr. Bradstreet, who was murdered, with the GCMF, which he discovered was, you know, he discovered that they were destroying our GC receptor in our cell, and that's your immune system. And they knew exactly how to do it. So they tested all these people back in the day and found out only a small majority of children were getting cancer, like it was virtually unheard of. He discovered that they discovered that the GC receptor was destroyed. So what they do, put in the vaccine to destroy our GC receptor, this nagalase. So I just did my research, found this doctor, and she's doing amazing. And my partner who has autoimmune, his club foot has gone down to nearly normal. You can't even tell, can you, Santos, that he's got one? It's amazing. So research people, you know. Don't take my word, research. And we've got to stay on top of it for our children's sake. You can give them a pill if they're running around, or you can think about what food you're giving them, you know. Yeah, gut health. We all know about gut health now. But, you know, give them a McDonald's burger and a lemonade, you know, big Coke or whatever, and you wonder why they're going psycho, you know.
Right. Well, as long as we're on the subject of gut health, I do have to shout out to my sponsor, awesomex.com. They have a really great high-quality probiotic, and I've already lost 60 pounds on it. So just doing what I've already done. I've always exercised and eaten well, but before that, I couldn't lose any weight at all. And since I got my gut right, it's just been falling off. So thank you, AwesomeX.
Did you get down to the school and get the MSDSs, or they don't allow you to get them? Because in Australia, after I did this and I caused a lot of trouble, according to them. They will not allow parents to go in and get the material safety data sheets. And yet every fireman has to be able to access them, so that they've got them. But they've got to, if you go in and ask them, and my partner Ryan went and asked for his son, it was like they pulled down the roller door. Got to talk to the principal, we'll get back to you. Whereas I just got them printed out. So they made a precedent for me. So it actually has a note if a parent asks. I don't know for sure, but this is what I think is happening, because no one can get the MSDSs now. The MSDSs, if there's a fire in the school or something, they need to know what's in the school.
Yeah,
so we've got to demand them as parents.
I'm sort of letting things calm down a little bit since I opted my son out of the DARE program. The DARE program is the police in our schools with anti-marijuana propaganda, and so they've been doing it for at least 40 years, I think, in America. They've had this program where they let the police come in the schools, and then they're like, they put up some papers. They're like, "Have you seen mommy and daddy with these rolling papers?" And stuff like that. Yeah. So I was like, nah, he ain't going in there. I said, your program doesn't work. Drug use has gone up since your program has been in our schools. It's my job to teach my kid about drugs and alcohol, and the only way he's going to stay off of it is by me and my husband showing him what an alcohol and drug-free lifestyle looks like. So we have to model it. And if we don't model it, then he's going to do what we're going to do. It's that simple. And I'm not giving my job as a parent over to the police. They don't belong in the schools. We're supposed to be preparing our kids for college or some other, career, not for prison. And that's what these programs do. They prepare our kids for prison.
Yeah, they had a policeman come into my son's school and say, you kids aren't quite old enough, but in 2 years' time you can go to kids' jail. It's like, what? How dare they? So then Healthy Harold, we have Healthy Harold here in Australia. It's a big giraffe. I don't know why it's a giraffe. Like, what sense is big giraffe telling children about health and all the same things you're talking about? So I've read a letter that Scott's, because he's got to get permission, Scott's not going to attend. In the permission note, he's not coming. And then the teacher said, you've got to go, it's part of the curriculum. He said, no, but Mum said that I don't have to, because I teach him about health. So he stayed home from school. And then a friend of mine was here. She was doing some health stuff here. And she said, why aren't you at school? And he goes, Healthy Harold's here. And she goes, he's not healthy at all. So he wasn't going to go to school.
Healthy Harold, wow.
Healthy Harold isn't so healthy, he said. I mean, the canteens here, are your canteens as atrocious as ours?
Yes, they're very bad. That's why he takes lunch to school. But yeah, they're yeah.
Yeah, my son takes
gluten.
Yeah, my son takes leftovers and seaweed and everything else. And at first the kids were picking on him, and now they're like, oh, what are you eating today? He doesn't care, But they showed me their lunch menu, and they said, it's very healthy. And I said, what do you mean? Highlight pie, which is, this meat pie with all these preservatives and things in it, and sugar-free aspartame jelly and sprayed apples. There's not one thing in that canteen. Not one.
Right, fat-free, low-fat milk and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Poison food. It's what
margarine.
It is, so. Oh, yeah.
Stick on your gluten.
Yeah. And chicken nuggets filled with poison.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my son wanted to eat those things. I was like, there's like eyeballs and stuff ground up in there, honey. And he's like, oh, mommy.
But my point is, I think that as parents, we need to buck the system. And I've been able to do it. And it did cost me, I ended up nearly having a nervous breakdown. I did sort of have one. And it was difficult.
Which is a normal response.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But you can do it. And the second time around, I was fine because, I had help. So all different sorts of help, not just humans. So,
yes. Excellent. So you got to open your world.
We can fight these bullies, but you do it in a nice way. You don't come across as an aggressive parent. You just tell them the facts and you say, no, I will not do this. So we just got the unfluid gas heating taken out of my 10-year-old, my youngest son's school, because he was getting sick. And they were just like, oh, here she is again. Fine, give her the air conditioner. Whatever. So there's two units there now. He doesn't have to breathe in that formaldehyde gas. But when I spoke to the teacher about it, what do you mean formaldehyde? I said, you know, formaldehyde, it'll kill you. Just a blank look. What are you talking about?
Wow. Wow.
I'm pretty sure that
My
they banned
goodness.
this
Yeah.
in most of the world. I mean, it's insane.
It really is.
Yeah, and they're replacing them with other unfluid gas heaters. So, but, you know, it makes a lot of money for the asthma industry.
Yep. It sure does. It sure does.
Cancer and the whole thing. And for ADD drugs, because they go psycho on it, some of the kids.
Yep.
Destroys their immune system, you know. And in Australia, I'll ask, you know, people in their 20s who've got serious health problems, did you have a problem at school when the heaters were on? And they'll go like, yeah, I used to feel like fainting. I'd put my head down on the desk. And so they're breathing it in. Closed windows. Doesn't even matter if they're open, you know. Yeah, it sits at 4 foot, I think, which is exactly where the children are sitting, you know. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, that's quite a story.
Yeah.
And it's usually our kids that we as mothers come into our power for them.
Well, I'm just glad that I do what I do for a living, because I would never, and she probably would be dead by now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty positive she would be. And they were just gone, oh, it's a child with, you know, she was just sick, you know, whatever.
Right.
But they'll still take no responsibility for the chemicals. They you know, they just, because they've you know, made it so that there's no such thing as chemical sensitivity. Chemicals don't make you sick. Poisons don't kill you. Whatever. It's nuts.
Right. Right. And people buy it too. They just want to believe that everything's okay so badly that even things that don't make sense, oh, okay, works for me.
Well, they're frightened of what the secretary at the desk might say to them if they demand the MSDSs. Oh, she might think that just go and do it. It's your child. It's their future.
Right. Exactly.
And it's just breaking another part of the system, which led me to a lot of other parts of the system. But it basically got to the point one day where I realised it was deliberate, and I had to sit down. I nearly collapsed when I realised that it wasn't. This is my opinion, I must say. I'd shown them all the facts, the big bosses. I'm not talking about the normal women that were working in there, the other men that were working in there, where they just want these chemicals in there. And why? Why would they want that when they know what it does? And they were laughing about it. And I had to sit down and realise there is evil in this world. And that was my first real face with evil. I've probably come across it before, but this is I was fully aware that there are people trying to harm us deliberately. And it just shocked me to the core, because I couldn't imagine as a human being that other human beings would want to do that to human beings.
Yeah, it's unimaginable. That's why we look past it, because it doesn't make any sense. You know, the idea of a predator, a human predator of humans, you know, is it doesn't make sense to our brains.
And where's the duty of care? Where's the duty of care? There is no duty of care.
Right.
They're meant to be doing. Yeah, we're not psychopaths, so it doesn't make any sense to our brain. But if you're a shareholder who sells all these chemicals or pharmaceutical drugs, and you know, it's a pretty good wicket for them, you know.
Yeah, it's real good, and for them, having most of it isn't enough. They want it all. So
I know. How much does someone need? You know.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So we're
I don't need
going to be
much.
looking at an autistic workforce in the future. You know. Apparently they all have special skills, and they actually praise it now. And I'm saying there is beautiful things about autistic children.
Yeah.
You know, have amazing talents. But it's not easy for their parents, and it's not going to be easy for them when they're grown up.
Yeah, for their relationships. And if you, like, I've been taught that we are the sum total of our relationships. And, you know, that's one of the challenges that they face is meaningful and relationships and being able to relate to others, which is really important. So we go through this journey where we think we're alone in this, and then suddenly we find help, both human and non-human, right? But and you found a lot of friends on this journey, and one of them is sitting right beside you.
Yeah.
And I want to bring him in and talk to him. Thank you so much for telling your story.
Yeah, no worries. It's good. So bring your power back, people, and you can do it. You can be a single parent, you can do it. You can be a couple and do it. Bring down the system in that way. There's many ways, which I'm doing it. But the good thing is that these things can be reversed, because having massive success with reversing autism. My daughter's healthy. Santos has met her. She doesn't look like a sick child, even though she's got a broken coccyx bone at the moment. she's okay. But yeah, I'll introduce Santos. Here he is. Good talking to you, Kira.
Thank you. Great talking to you,
Vinny.
Hey, Kira.
Hi. Thanks for joining me tonight. So, welcome back. We're glad you're back from your kidnapping experience, and I thought since you had just been through that you were in the unique position to sort of juxtapose our slavery, both inside and outside the cage, and maybe bring that together and what we can do about it, and how we can move beyond it.
Yeah, well, what you were speaking about with Angela just before is one of the ways we can do this, because what we'd have to do is eliminate the poisons and toxins, not just physically, but spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, that they're trying to dump on us, and eliminate those, and that way increase our consciousness level. And that's what will save us, the awakening. We need to wake up to what's going on and raise the vibration of our bodies as we purify our bodies, because we will activate the chakras as we go upward, and we reach the crown chakra, and this is what they're stopping. Everything that Angela was talking about before, and how they're putting poisons deliberately in foods and in schools, in dishwashing detergent, and all kinds of places. That is to keep the vibration of the chakras blocked, so that we remain blocked and we don't actually reach the higher consciousness, which is our source consciousness. And so we're stuck in this sort of, a group think, animalistic kind of consciousness. It's based around the solar plexus. So this is a mind. We have 4 minds, you could say: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, the medulla oblongata, and the solar plexus. And so it's very important for the powers that be to keep us below the heart chakra. They don't want us to open this up. This is the doorway, the middle chakra, the green chakra. The green lion, Leo, rules here in astrology. And when this green lion is opened up, we have access to the throat chakra, the blue, and the 2 purple, actually indigo and violet. So ultraviolet is above the head. All of these blue, indigo and violet colours after green, they are all spiritualised consciousness. So we have 2 kinds of consciousness. We have materialist consciousness and spiritualised. Yeah. And so what they're doing is they're giving us false religion, false education, false foods. Processed foods have no electric charge, and that's what your body consumes: electricity, atoms, voltage. And you can only get that directly through raw foods and herbs. And so, this world tends to make us believe that, cornflakes for breakfast. First of all, it's GMO cornflakes, and then all the things that they list, that they put in there, are not actually minerals that are, able to be metabolized by the body. It just goes straight through your. Actually, it just remains in your body as toxins. And you get metal poisoning, and so processed food doesn't have charge, doesn't have any voltage. And when you eat food, see, people feel flat all the time. They're always flat. Oh, I'm tired. We shouldn't be tired. We should be glowing with radiance, because we're ingesting minerals. Minerals are the key to health, and they are actually voltage, electrical charge. And electricity, there are 5 electricities, which correspond to the 5 senses. So there is electricity that deals only with sound. There's electricity that deals only with light, and that's the nerve system for the eyes is totally different to the nerve system for the ears. They run on different electricities. And so all of those electricities are born of magnetism. And most of your philosophers of antiquity call that divine magnetism, you see. And you get magnetism in the name Magdalene and Mary, the mother of the child, the Holy Child. The Holy Child is electricity, Emmanuel, electricity. And so when you understand that this is caused by magnetism, and its effect, what you see, this body, is electrical. And so then you know that you have to put the best electrical charge in your body, and that's raw food. Simple. Meat doesn't transfer any good vibration for the body. It's not for human consumption, and that's why they pump the meat industry, get your protein and your iron. Well, the iron is the wrong isotope that's in meat. It's for building buildings, in animal meat, and so you can't absorb it. And protein, well, I recommend people look up the work of Dr. Sebi, S-E-B-I, and he says forget about all that rubbish about protein and all of this. It's minerals. It's electricity. We consume electricity, and this is the big secret that they don't want us to know. And this is why they have a lot of these health food stores now are selling synthetic minerals and things like that, synthetic products, and that's just not good enough. They're highly processed and they have no charge. Sure, they put iron and all these minerals in them, but they're dead minerals. And so I would recommend to people, if they really, really want to be serious about their health, go into the garden, plant some good herbs and chew on them every day. And there's minerals. Basically, that's what we're going to be heading towards, because we are a gluttonous society. Everything we do is just pure gluttony. And we should be just chewing on herbs, electricity. All the minerals are there that you need. There's all kinds of beautiful. Angela gave me this little pocket book that I can use. Can you grab that for us? Yeah. I'll just show you that, and you can live. You can live on just these herbs. That's it there. That's a gift from Angela to me, and of course I'll be heading back up to Queensland where I live, and we've got all these herbs all over the forest. Of course, dandelions in there, plantargo, and all of those goodies. There's chickweed, blackberry nightshade. They're all here, and so this is the food of man. Originally, the food of man was the air in the golden age, and water, and in the silver age we had to take a fall. It's a consciousness fall, and it's a fall in energy. The electricity's a dimmer in the silver age, and so herbs was the food for the silver age. And then in the Bronze Age, vegetables and fruits, seeds, and nuts, the four foods, excluding grains. And then in the Iron Age, which is the Kali Yuga, man started eating animals and grains, big agriculture, the business mind, you see. But before that, we were foragers, and the system was a permaculture system. You know, we didn't tear up the ground and rip her open to plant vast quantities of, genetically modified foods. And GMOs are not a modern phenomena. You know, the Romans have been playing around with wheat grains because they know that wheat is just, well, as it is now, it's just pure toxins. You know, it's very toxic. And so they used to feed their army on this white bread, you see, and that the Romans, it was genetically modified back then. So they've been doing it for a while. The Romans are masters at creating artificial systems for the purpose of people trafficking and general enslavement of mankind. Excuse me. I have a flu, and I've been helped by Angela with here's the multiple wave oscillator. Had a go at that last night, and that was phenomenal, and had a really good night's sleep. It was incredible, the best sleep I've had in months. So
Curing 98% of cancers.
yeah, I don't know how people would get a hold of these. Are they available?
Yeah. They can contact me. I can put them onto the person. We won't advertise it.
Yeah.
Because I'll probably shut him down.
Yeah, right. So there's a few things, Kira. You know, we need to look out for our bodies. You are what you eat, and all of these, you know, processed foods are pretty useless. Even though they say they've got all these little goodies in there, they're not. They're useless, and we lose voltage. To spiritualize our bodies and to grow spiritually and ascend, we need to ingest electrical fire.
Hey, Ben, we lost him.
Yeah, well, the food we're eating is Kali Yuga, Iron Age food. Still eating meat, which we shouldn't be. We're not in the Kali Yuga anymore. We're in the Dvapara Yuga. And I know a lot of Hindus will disagree with that because they're actually working on erroneous figures. They don't know that with the fall of knowledge was also the fall of understanding the ages. And this was explained and clarified by Sri Yukteswar, the student and pupil of Babaji and Lahiri and the teacher of Paramhansa Yogananda. And Sri Yukteswar wrote a book in 1894 called The Holy Science. And in that book he spoke about the 5 electricities and the atom. And I do a lot of work on atom, explaining how everything is atum, as the Egyptians said. All is atum. Or in the East, all is om. And he explained in there that they're using incorrect figures. We've been in the Dvapara Yuga, which is the second age. Dvapara means 2. Kali is the first age, the Iron Age. And so then we go to the Treta, 3, Treta, and then the Satya, which is the Golden Age. So we're actually in the Bronze Age, and we shouldn't be eating animals at all since 1700. That's when Sri Yukteswar says that the Kali Yuga ended. Now, what happens now, though, is we are entering a mini Golden Age if we can bring it on. I mean, how do we change this cabal system that is causing so much ruin and division among mankind? Well, through consciousness, through awakening. and critical mass. We need to get enough people to stand up, and of course these cabals have been murdering and killing and stoning the prophets of truth for thousands of years. You know, the money families, they can't, you know, harvest all of our energies if we wake up. And so to activate these chakras is so important. As I said before, the green lion is the doorway, the middle chakra. This is the Midgard, middle garden. And it actually corresponds with the earth. But here is heaven, heaven head, heaved up. You see, these are all the same word. And if you're looking for heaven, it's in here. It's in the third ventricle, the third heaven, and the pineal gland, the Om, and the crown chakra, the All, A-double-L, otherwise known as Allah, where Krishna resides. This is the Satya Loka, the highest dwelling place of mankind. And we can all enter this heaven head state, not state, state. Below that is the 5 conditions. So even though these two chakras open the way to get to heaven head, it's still part of the torso, and it's still part of the Midgard system, the middle garden. And so how to activate this is through good practices. Chanting, meditating, yoga, and in general, bhakti yoga. Bhakti is the supreme devotional path to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which resides in the Satya Loka. And so how to do this is what the philosophers have always said. We need to go back to our holy books. The Bible contains precious wisdom that people are not aware. On one hand, you have the atheists telling you that it's a disgraceful, you know, bloodletting, demonic killing book, and then you've got your churchgoers that take it literally. And so they're both doing harm. These two different polarized mindsets are doing harm to the scriptures. It's time now for good teachers to come forward and show what these scriptures are really talking about. They are talking about the alchemical process of sublimating the animal into the human, you know, and becoming demigods ourselves, because there's only 2 kinds of creatures in the universe. There's demons and there's demigods. The demons are going downward, Nephilim. The demigods are going upward, Elohim. You see? And so we are returning back to home. And to return back to home, which is, you know, different to this materialistic kind of world where everything is where there's polarization and so-called duality and suffering, birth and death cycles. To escape.
Come on back. All right, we're back. Can you hear? All right.
So to escape these cycles of suffering, because wherever you live in material worlds, material planes, planets, there is suffering. There are planets, there's Brahmaloka, which is the highest of the material worlds, which there is less suffering, much, much less suffering, and much, much more paradisaical conditions, but there is still suffering. So we have to escape these cycles and enter the spiritual planets where we have spiritual form. And we are spiritual forms. We have fallen from spiritual form to physical form. And that's the fall of the Garden of the Garden of Eden. And so in the golden ages, that's where we go back to spiritual form, you see. And we're returning to that condition, to the solar condition, escaping solar state, escaping planetary conditions. So right now we are conditioned by the planet, and we have to escape that conditioning. And the finest way to do that, because you asked the question, would be start at the bottom, at the base level, which is your body, because you can see improvements physically immediately. So watch what you ingest, and then watch what you put in here. So mentally and spiritually. And then watch what you put in here emotionally, and your liver and your solar plexus. And so mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, we will see improvement. But the physical is the place where you begin. You know, you can't just go off and you think, you know, you're going to go and do yoga now, and you're going to meditate, because you won't have much success. First and foremostly, the body is desperate for electrical force, voltage. And nature only provides the voltage for the human being. Only nature. So all this cooking of food, this cuisine is one of the most abhorrent words you can ever utter from your mouth. You know, you look at all these shows where they're doing cooking, you know, cuisine, and you see these monstrous, big, fat, overweight, really flat looking, materialistic people. And it just goes to show, you know, what they're teaching is truly not. Cuisine is to be, you know, is to be avoided at all costs, and to have simple foods. You know, you can eat on just you can survive on just apples one day, bananas the next day, some other raw food the next day, and as long as it's chewed properly. Because most people, even nutritionists and naturopaths and Ayurvedic practitioners and all kinds of health experts, you know, still think that the stomach is not really good for digesting raw. Well, that's silly. It's untrue. But we need to chew more. So basically with food, you have to turn it into liquid, and with your liquids, you have to eat it. So you never really should scull water, for instance. You should mix it with saliva and make it your own, and then the organs recognise it that it's yours, really. You know, otherwise, if you don't mix it with your own DNA and saliva before it goes down, it tends more to just go straight through you and take all the good minerals with it. So, you know, you're peeing out your all your good minerals. So with liquids, you always spend a few seconds, and if it's cold, you should always make it body temperature before you drop it down. And so, and with foods, it's the same thing. You know, we should be chewing it, and raw food needs to be chewed and that's why you got teeth. You know, this is why. Whereas you see people eating cooked food and they just virtually 2 chews and it's down. No saliva is mixed with that food. And they've got all sorts of problems, you know. Obesity and acidity, mucus, tiredness, arthritis, all of this comes from what you're doing here in the mouth. And so the other thing with vegetarian lifestyle, which is the philosopher and mystic's lifestyle, they would never even contemplate eating any kind of animal product. There's ways of preparing, you know, raw food. Seeds and nuts should be sprouted. They should be activated. You know, otherwise, the stomach struggles with, you know, assimilating, metabolizing, and digesting that, and all your digestive system struggles. And so seeds and nuts activated, sprouted, and fermented vegetables, and so you can ferment your vegetables, you know, like sauerkraut, where you're ingesting a lot of probiotics, and so helping with bacteria to digest. So this is where many people who go off meat and turn vegetarian and then go back to meat because they find that their health is suffering. It's because they're not doing it properly. And we need to learn. We are very ignorant. and we are practicing ways which humanity never did practice before this takeover by the Khazarian cabal, which are intent to deceive mankind on all levels and keep them ignorant as to how we can ascend and be gods. We are God in quality, one and the same, just not in quantity. And we need to increase that quantity. And the more quantity of God we increase, the more we are serving and being devoted to the higher consciousness. And that is the only way we'll have peace. There's no other way. There's only one way, and that is devotion to the higher consciousness. Pure devotion on the philosophical narrow path that leads to everlasting glory. We've been taught that there's no such thing, you know. People don't talk about our everlasting, eternal glory which awaits us outside these bodies. Oh, you know, even though they talk about this in church, I don't think they actually know it. I think they blindly believe it. It's that kind of belief system. And so we are conditioned to think that this is it. You know, you only live once, and you know you've got to make your fame and your riches, and you've got to work hard and climb this ladder and get there. You know, and make it. Oh, he's made it, hasn't he? You know, make it. We're here to do one thing and one thing alone, and that is to return to our homes of glory, eternal glory, unconditioned, everlasting. That's our true nature, unconditioned, everlasting. And our false nature, this here, is conditioned, temporal. And so, you know, nothing wrong with that. We're experiencing here, we're learning, we are remembering, but it's a playfield, you know, it's a playground. It's not the real reality. It's a condition. It's 7 conditions, actually. And some people love it. You know, they love this playground of good and evil, where they can manipulate the evil, acquire powers which they don't deserve, and control others and harvest their energy. The Crown is doing it. The Vatican is doing it. These are the 2 nastiest entities of deception and people slaves, people trafficking, slavery in universal history. The Vatican at the top, and then the Crown, which is the Triple Crown, the tiara or the trirenium that the Pope wears. He wears the 3 crowns. That is the 3 papal bulls of the 15th and 14th century, and that's the Crown. And there are other nasty entities, all of their little clubs, the Knights of Malta, the Salvation Army, the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, all top-heavy with filthy, putrid, sexual deviant pedophiles. Infiltrated Freemasons, and all the churches. All the churches are corporate churches doing commerce. They're all under the umbrella of Babylon the Great harlot. See, these cabals, they use the Bible and especially Revelation as their playbook. And so they have created fictional entities which have become egregores or demons, and they rule us by demon force. And the names of these are in the book of Revelation. For instance, the harlot, who sits on many waters. Well, that's the Vatican. And, sorry, no, that's maritime law. The law of enslavement. The law of the high seas. That's the harlot. She sits on many waters. The Vatican is the false prophet. The false idol is the legal name. The beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. That is, well, that's empire, really. But it's also the 7 European powers that left Europe to conquer the world and bring enslavement, Roman enslavement, to the whole world. Yeah, so this is what we need to deal with. You see, Rome is basically the empire that that the cabal hide behind. You know, the Zionists, all of these think tanks and clubs that bring about all these ideas for us to go chasing after the wind, like, you know, climate change now. Oh, yes, we're going to go and change the climate, we are, you see. And so you've got all kinds of people now that they're all thinking that they're doing a great deed to humanity by following these lies. And so what we have to do is we really have to go back to our roots, back to the ancient ways. We've been deceived massively, massively. I would suggest to people, get out of church, get out of your churches, go back to the Bible and the Quran and Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is one of the best books to read right now. Yeah, those books are divine in the sense that we, under inspiration from on high, produce those works to explain this wonderful alchemical process that we must do to activate the 7 seals. See, that's why the book of Revelation says that the Lamb is worthy of opening the seals, and the Lion. So the violet lamb, Aries, so in astrology, the sacred science, the sacred transcendental science of theology, Aries rules the cerebrum, Taurus the cerebellum, there's Gemini, the 3rd sign, the twins, the lungs, the breath, Gemini. Cancer is the chest, Leo is the heart, and then all the way down to the 2 feet, the 2 fish, Pisces. You've got, this is the temple of the soul of man, Solomon, which was designed by the architect Hiram, Aries, because the cerebrospinal system is the builder of this temple. And so when we look after the fluids, the nervous system, there are 4 rivers in the body: the blood, the nervous fluids, the saliva, and the urine. And these are the 4 rivers in the Garden of Eden. When we look after the blood and purify the blood, and how we do that is by keeping the nervous system clean. This is why vaccines and fluoride and all that are designed to pollute the nervous system. What happens then is we struggle. We struggle to keep the pH in the body. The pH in the body is a war between acidity and alkalinity, and we've got to keep it balanced. We can't be too over-alkaline or too over-acidic. And so that's the war between Horus and Set, Jesus and Satan, you know, Rama and Ravana. That's it. It's an alchemical war inside our bodies. And if we win this war, and if we, you know, wage war against the Canaanites and the Philistines and the Jebusites and all of these demon worshippers that are in the body, because the body is the Holy Land, then we wage war in our bodies, then we are an example of purity. And we emanate only purity. This is why you see a halo, a large halo around the saints. It's because they've done this work. They've done the holy work. We're not here to do jobs and chase, you know, imaginary ladders and keep up with the Joneses. You know, we're here to do the holy work. If we're not participating in holy work from dusk to dawn and 24 hours of the day, we're chasing after the wind. Our life is useless. It's worthless. There's no point in living. We are here to be holy, you know? And holy means to be conscious, awake, awakened, and the green lion and the purple-decked Lamb of God, Aries. You see, when the lion and the lamb, the heart and the brain, lie down together, as it says in Isaiah chapter 6, then we will have peace on earth. But how many people have got the heart chakra activated and have reached the high Ram, Hiram Abiff, the builder of the temple, decked in purple, and brought them into alignment, at one-ment, atonement? Well, not many. And so they haven't had these higher energies activated, and so you can see that their energy is down toward their belly. Their God is their belly, and it's down here in the region of sexual lust and filling the belly with food and cuisine and meat. Oh, I can't live without my meat. It's not your meat, it's the animal's meat. and all living entities should be respected and kept alive. Killing is the only universal sin. And so this is why the meat industry is so powerful, because more meat you eat, the more your body's toxic. And the blood and mixed with our blood is keeping the levels down. That's why the vegetarian diet is absolutely essential for ascension. It can't happen without it. It cannot happen. And so these are things that must be told. These are the truths that must be spoken from the rooftops, because people are doing it all wrong. They're ill-advised by, by other people who have been indoctrinated and educated, not illuminated. Illumination happens here. And so when the Bible says that only the lion and the lamb were worthy of opening the 7 seals, well, that's speaking about the 7 chakras. And when you add the petals of the bottom 6 chakras, of course, the crown chakra has 1,000 petals. Okay, so there's 1,000 leaves on this beautiful crown chakra. We have a glorious crown above our heads. And this one here, the third eye here, this has 96. Very interesting number, 96. 96 petals, 16 petals, 12. Of course, because Jesus, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, has 12 apostles. That's the 12 petals of the heart chakra. This is why Jesus of the Sacred Heart is always pointing here and there, up. Because he's saying only way to God, up, is here, in the heart. So in and up is the opposite of down and out. And you look around and how many people are down and out? Because they're going down and they're going outside for their truth. They're going to the church over there and this guy over here who says he's a New Age guru. And here is the truth already. It's been planted in here from lifetimes gone by. It never leaves here. So we have to go within and up. In through the lion, the green line, and up Jacob's ladder to the pineal gland. Of course, that's why Jacob said, after he struggled with the angel and he was changed his name to Israel, that's because he was dreaming from the stone of scone, which is the sacrum, at the bottom of the vertebrae. And he climbed through the chakras and he saw God face to face and called that place Penuel, pineal. And so the pineal gland is always associated with Aries, and the pituitary body with Taurus and the cerebellum. And the crucifixion of the Christ, the chrism, which is the cerebrospinal fluid, which must be raised and returned back to heaven head, from whence it came, the holy claustrum, or the Santa Claustrum, Santa Claus, in the North Pole. And it's secreted from here, the oil, it descends. It's called the manna from heaven, or the Son of Man, manna. This is why Jesus said to Nicodemus, he said, "What? Do you not know how to be born again? And you're a teacher in Israel?" He said, "Did you not know that as Moses lifted up the serpent, the Kundalini serpents, the electrical force driving the oils back up to the heaven head, that you cannot be born again. Unless you lift up the Son of Man, you will not be born again. And so we need to be born again. We need to be awakened again. Because the education system and religions have put us to sleep. It's a false spirituality, it's a false doctrine, it's false idols that they've caused us to bow down to. And we need to be aware of that and change that in this world. And we can all do it because it's what we all want. Everyone wants that, except for the demons, the Nephilim, the demonic ones who are determined to remain on the physical planes, controlling, plundering, pillaging. As the great historian 2,000 years ago said, Tacitus of Empire Rome, the Romans are deadly pillagers of the world. They have exhausted the earth with their indiscriminate plunder. A rich enemy excites their lust for wealth, and a poor one, their craving for power. Robbery, butchery, and rape, they call government. They create a desert and call it peace. And look around, and you will see all roads lead to Rome. This is all Rome can do, because Rome is not God. Rome is not prime creator. Rome is not the source, you see? And the source is here. And let me finish the what I was saying about the chakras. Below the 12th petal chakra is the solar plexus, has 10 petals. Below that is the sacral plexus. Yep, and that has 6 petals, and then your base chakra has 4. And when you add from 96 down to 4, all those petals, you get 144. Multiplied by 1,000 is 144,000. So in Revelation 14:1, where it says, "And I saw and look, the Lamb, Aries, standing upon Mount Zion," the body, the spinal column, with 144,000, singing a new song. See, unless we are born again and we sing that new song by raising our vibration up to here through the portal, we won't be singing that new song, which really is in reference to the new consciousness, Krishna consciousness. We need to acquire Krishna consciousness. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. In other theologies, it's Jehovah, Atum, Allah. Of course, this chakra here is called Al, A-double-L, Allah. And to get to Allah, remember, in his night journey in the Quran, Muhammad reached the 7th heaven. And he saw Saturn there, because the crown, Kronos, Saturn, is the crown chakra. And so...
I'm utterly transfixed and blown away by everything that you're saying. It's interpretation, and it's not just one single tradition either. You're bringing things together. Yeah, let's go back to the philosophers and the mystics for a minute here. You were talking about how our prophets are being murdered. So what's happening to our philosophers and our mystics under Empire?
They are the prophets. They are the sorcerers because they're connected to source. They are the diviners because they speak about divinity. They are the clairvoyants because they see clearly. See, this is why the sorcerers are condemned and the diviners and the astrologers, well, probably they should be condemned because, as Jesus condemned the lawyers, he wasn't condemning law. He said, I came to fulfill the law. I came not to destroy the law, because we are lawful. We live by natural, universal, divine law. We can't but. And so, this is why these prophets, to prophesy means to clairvoyantly see what's coming. You can't know the future because it's a mystery. You know, yesterday is history, tomorrow is mystery, today is gift. And so no one can prophesy 100% accurately the future. Only the Supreme Being knows that. But we can prophesy. You know, we can prophesy because you can see all the dynamics and all the potentialities, and you can see them coming together with wisdom. It's not guesswork. You see, this is what this is why the astrologers are condemned in the Bible. Astrology is not condemned because it's an astrological treatise. It's pure astrology. From Genesis to Revelation. 66 books. 6 plus 6 is 12. You see, and the theme of 12 is throughout the Bible because everything in this universe is a 12ness. It's a dozen, it's a 12ness. Everything is expressed through the number 12 in this universe. And it's a wave universe. And the wave, the sine wave, you see, most people look at the sine wave as two things. Positive, negative, duality, polarity. But there's much more in the sine wave. You see? The transcendental, occult, esoteric knower, mystic or philosopher, whatever you want to call them, they knew the sine wave. One must know the sine wave. Without knowing the sine wave, you know nothing. Because it's not two-ness, it's four-ness. There's four polarities in there. You cut that wave in half here at the wave amplitude, and you cut it at the bottom, and you put four segments in that wave, and then you put 12 30-degree segments along the wave, and then you start at Aries and you finish at Pisces, and that's the science of everything. Everything. There is not a particle, there's not a plant, there's not a mountain, there's not a star, there's not a universe, there's nothing in existence that does not follow this wave that you see with your eyes. All electrical phenomena is following the law of the wave. And the wave is, well, you look at the word wave, take away the W and you're left with Ave, Ave Maria. The wave, Mary, the wave. Maria is Mare, which is the oceans of creation. Ave Maria, wave. You see, that's why you'll find Ave in the word save, have, because the material world is a having. See, and this Maria, Mary, the Mother of God, will save you. It's the wave. All of our theologies are based on the wave. All of them. There's nothing to discuss, there's no topic, there's no subject that anyone has ever discussed other than the wave. Walter Russell said the secret of creation lies in the wave. And when you read the book I mentioned before, the Sacred Science, the Holy Science by Sri Yukteswar, throughout the book he explains the atom and how the atom is the cause and the only thing in existence. All is atum, you see. And so the transcendental theology is based on this knowledge of the 12ness of the wave. There are 12 conditions that electricity produces through its manifestation. And you won't learn this in your universities. They won't teach you the spiritualized version of everything. They'll teach you the lowest denominator, the material side of how to understand the world, you see.
Well, they're certainly not going to put physics and metaphysics together. That would be, that'd be just too much.
That's right. That's why we need more syncretists in the world. We need syncretism. Syncretism is the science of merging all sciences, all philosophies, religions, Everything. Everything is syncretized by the wave. There is no other way to syncretize everything other than the wave. It's the wave. And it's a thought wave universe. And so we need people like Walter Russell and prophets to stand up and not allow the consensus mentality of the herd crowd to, you know, diminish this truth in any way, and not be ashamed of it. You know, we should be more than devoted and proud to be on the path. Broad and spacious is the road leading to everlasting perdition, and many are the ones who are walking on that path. They don't know any better. Some don't, and they don't want to. They want what they want. You see, sense gratification and self-identity is a plague that leads to destruction. Sense gratification is what people live and devote themselves to. They're not devoted to the higher cause, to the higher consciousness, to Krishna.
It seems like for those who want to talk about spirituality and our sacred purpose here on the planet are often made fun of or called names or, you know, any of those things. So it's really hard to talk about it with a large audience of people because people instinctively know that religion has lied to them, so they just want to throw all of it out because it's all a big lie, instead of rely on their own experience of divinity. Yeah. Or they
suffer with cognitive dissonance. You see, I had that for 20 years when I was a Jehovah's Witness. Cognitive dissonance. You know, they're teaching you something in here, they're drumming it in, but in here, we already know the truth. We already know that they're all liars. I mean, they teach truths. You know, there's the Mormons, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Catholics. They're teaching from a truthful, you know, foundation, but they've perverted it. You know, it's like the food that people eat. Originally, those foods were natural and healthy and good. But, you know, along the way, they've cooked it, processed it, added aspartame to it, added some more poo to it, some more tasty, yummy flavours and preservatives with formaldehyde in it, packaged it, radiated it before you can consume it because we want to kill any bacteria that might be on that, so we'll gas it. Then they freeze it, then they take it out, and you go to the supermarket and eat it. Well, that's what the churches are doing. Yeah. The churches foundationally are based on divine truths. But what they're spewing out from their pulpits are lies, you know. And they tell you themselves. I mean, there's 30,000 registered corporate Christian churches out there, including the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons. And the Jehovah's Witnesses will tell you clearly that the Mormons are just pure evil Satanists serving Satan, and they're not Christian, and they're evil, and they're going to perish because they're not Jehovah's Witnesses. But then the Presbyterians will tell you the same about the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons and the Methodists and everybody else. And then the Catholics will come along and say, oh, yes, but no, we are the true Christians. And this is all a lie. You know, there's only one Christ. And Christ is the divine, unconditioned, everlasting life force of the universe. You know, so, and that is not adequate to describe what Christ is either, you know. So, you know, it doesn't matter whether you believe in a historical Christ or a saviour, Krishna incarnated, Jesus incarnated. That's all history. It's pretty dead. You'll have arguments about historical Krishna and Christ and Muhammad for hours, and you'll kill each other for the arguments. Did he burp or did he yawn? Did he sneeze or did he, did he trip over or did he stand? the universal Christ, the universal Allah, the universal Krishna, regardless of whether they incarnated or not, was always there and always will be there, and that is who we are. We are of that substance, of the divine eternal substance. And, you know, to deny that is pure folly. You know, you see all these idiots like, who's that big atheist in England? What's his name? Born on the same day as me, 24th of March. Oh, God, that annoys me. I wish it was some other date. What's his name?
I don't know.
That guy is famous in England, but, you know, the Hawkins. What's his? Is it Hawkins? Anyway, you know, no God and no God and all of this nonsense. You know, all is God. It's all God.
Right.
Generation, operation, dissolution. Everything generates, operates, and dissolves. Brahma, Vishnu, Krishna. Shiva. Brahma, the creator. Vishnu, the preserver. And Shiva, the destroyer. And so everything is God. Generation, operation, dissolution. And in astrology, this is cardinal, fixed, mutable. And everything is born, grows, and decays. And so, you know, denying that is just, it's ridiculous. It's kindergarten stuff.
Wow. I could listen to you for hours, and I wish that we didn't have any interruptions here. But we're reaching our end. Is there anything else you wanted to add to the discussion?
Not really. I mean, I've tried to cover, you know, in 1 hour you can't scratch the surface. There is so much. Hey, can you tell them about this? What is it?
Oxeye daisy.
Ox-eye daisy. Ox as in OX, the bull, the ox. Ox-eye daisy. I'm stressing this because when I arrived here yesterday, I picked up a flu somehow, and I thought it was going to be really, really bad. I ate 7 or 8 of these in a row, and a lot of other herbs there.
It's antiviral.
It's the most antiviral
daisy.
Herbs. It's a daisy you can ingest, and so see things like this, dandelions, same. So that's our true food. We don't need to be gluttons. We need electrical force. That's probably how I'd love to wrap up the show today, Kira.
Okay.
Voltage,
Thank you so
electricity,
much.
L.
Thank you, Vin, for hosting, and thank you, Santos and Angela, for joining me tonight. I hope we can talk again soon. I'm really interested in talking to you again. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vin.